Hello, welcome to Watan الكرامة News Service, and we start our top stories for today with current and latest developments in Libya. Independent member of National Dialogue Committee Sharif Al-Wafi warned of rush to nominate the names of the National Consensus government without clarifying basic consonants of the UN dialogue draft. Al-Wafi noted that leaving the consonants that relate to mechanism of forming the government, the Supreme Council of the state, as well as the selection criteria to be included as minor items, is regarded as preempt action preceding the agreement. He added that the Dialogue Committee of Parliament should be aware of insistence of the outgoing conference to achieve its demands regarding amendments in the last draft and not to take any decisions without returning to the Parliament. Official spokesman for Parliament Faraj Bo Hashim said that the future of Libya has not place for the terrorist brotherhood group. Bo Hashim described Libyan dialogue in Sekhirat as merit for those who don't deserve, expressing his fear of supplements that are derived from the fourth draft and that may undergo unfair modifications. Bo Hashim also stressed the importance of following federal system in establishing a Libyan coalition government because it is the optimal system of the rule in Libya, although it doesn't belong to the federal bloc. Security sources stress that authorities of Ras Jadir crossing on the Libyan side handed over a terrorist against home inspection cards were issued to the Tunisian authorities. Tunisia is witnessing during this period strict security campaigns within the framework of countering terrorism after Tunisian President Baji Qaid al-Sibsi declared a state of emergency in the country. And still in Libya, terrorist Libya Dome militias blew several houses in Sabah city after recent demonstrations against death sentences for symbols of the former regime, which led to martyrdom of a citizen. A security source read that citizen Ahmida Muhammad Khe was killed after a mortar shell hit this home. The source further says that the two people were transformed to intensive care department in Sabha hospital and their condition is serious. The source added that Sabha hospital is suffering a shortage of supplies and necessary equipment. The National Commission for Human Rights in Libya expressed its rejection for practices committed by terrorist Daesh group against demonstrators denouncing provisions against symbols of former regime in Sabha, Sertij and Tarhuna. The committee said in a statement that extremist Daesh group and other terrorist groups attacked the demonstrators and then arrested and tortured them, adding that one of the children died by torture after his arrest under pretext of participation in demonstrations of Abu Hadi in Sirte. Moreover, some protesters were wounded in the Manshia district of Sabha after being targeted by a mortar rocket. And now from Egypt. Egyptian armed forces in North Sinai killed 88 terrorists in regions of Sheikh Zuwayd, Al-Arish and Rafah. Egyptian military spokesman Brigadier Mohammed Samir said that North Sinai forces succeeded in causing heavy losses for terrorist elements and arresting many of them within the framework of efforts exerted by the armed forces to continue targeting terrorist pockets and based on confirmed information obtained by security agencies and citizens. Moreover, the military spokesman noted that the terrorist elements have been handed over to authorities to take legal action against them. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi today met U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry after hidden talks with the country's foreign minister at the first strategic dialogue between the two sides since 2009. Kerry said Cairo and Washington were returning to a stronger base in bilateral ties. Cairo remains one of Washington's closest security allies in the Middle East, an increasingly crucial role in a region peace by turmoil in Syria, Iraq, Yemen and Libya. After his visit to Egypt, Kerry is expected to travel to Doha tomorrow. There he will meet with counterparts from the Gulf Cooperation Council, which comprises Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman and Qatar. And talks and according to U.S. officials say will concentrate on Iran nuclear deal, the war in Syria and the battles against terrorist Daesh group. In relation to nuclear program in Iran, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said a nuclear deal signed by Iran and world powers last month would make Egypt and the region safer. Kerry said in a news conference in Cairo today that there can be absolutely no question that the Vienna plan, if implemented, will make Egypt and all the countries of this region safer than they otherwise would be. Meanwhile, top nuclear negotiator Ali Akbar Salehi said Iran's parliament does not have authority over nuclear agreements signed with world powers last month. The comments from Salehi, the head of Iran's atomic energy agency, are the latest volley in a lengthy battle between Iranian officials supportive of the deal and those who are skeptical of it. The head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog will meet U.S. senators this week to discuss this agency's monitoring role of the Iran's nuclear program. Iran nuclear deal reached with 6 world powers in July 14 imposes district limits on its nuclear program in exchange for relief from international sanctions, breaking decades of mounting hostility with the West. And now my audience to Yemen. Clashes between Houthi rebels and troops loyal to President Abdrabbu Mansour Hadi broke out in Yemen's central city of Taiz, forcing residents to flee and causing damage to apartment buildings. Black plumes of smoke rose from an apartment complex and several residents were damaged in the violence. The clashes took place as Yemeni Vice President Khalid Bahah arrived in the southern port city of Aden, the most senior official from Yemen's government to visit since local fighters drove out the Houthis. Airport officials said Bahah, who is also Prime Minister, was accompanied by 6 ministers when he flew in from the Saudi capital Riyadh, when the Yemeni government had been based since President Hadi fled a Houthi advance on Aden in March. Yemen's warring parties in June failed to reach agreement at US-sponsored peace talks in Geneva to end the fighting that has killed around 4,000 people since March. Fresh efforts by UN Special Envoy to Yemen to broker further talks have so far been unsuccessful. And now to Turkey, 2 security forces members who were killed and 31 were wounded in a suicide bomb attack carried out overnight by the Kurdistan Workers' Party PKK in Turkey's eastern province of Agri, the Turkish army said in a statement published on their website today. The statement said that the attack was carried out with a tractor loaded with 2 tons of explosives on a grandma outpost located in eastern Agri province bordering Iran. The wounded were transformed to a local state hospital. According to the statement, 4 of them were in critical condition. In a separate incident in Turkey's southeastern province of Mardin, 1 soldier was killed when a military vehicle detonated a mine, army said. 8 soldiers were also wounded. Today's attacks have brought the number of security forces killed in attacks blamed on the PKK to at least 16 since July 20. Armed attacks by PKK militants in southeastern Turkey have increased since mid-July, much more so since Turkey began a campaign of airstrikes on PKK camps in the northern Iraq on July 24. A 20-member delegation from Bangladesh arrived in New Delhi today for border talks. The Director General level talks between the border forces of neighbors are scheduled to take place in the Indian capital tomorrow. An array of issues like trans-border crimes, including instances of cattle smuggling, illegal movement of fake Indian currency, activities of insurgent groups, prevention of illegal migration, joint efforts for effective implementation of common agenda programs are slotted to be discussed during the 4-day talks. The meeting gained significance as it comes on the close heels of a historic land swap between the 2 countries. Both the countries have exchanged adversely held enclaves, marking the implementation of a historic land boundary agreement (LBA). Reportedly, the 2 sides will sign a joint declaration on August 6. India and Bangladesh signed an agreement in June to simplify the 4,000 kilometers border and clarify the identities of 52,000 living in the enclaves, over 4 decades after neighbors' first right to untangled complex territorial rights set down in 1713. My audience, that is the wrap-up of our top stories for today. For much more, you can check our website, www.watanalkarama.tv. Thanks very much for being with us. My greeting, Rانيا البليدى.
التالي النشرة الرائعة.